It is the beginning of summer in Yugar, a small village in the Lungnak valley of Zanskar. The villagers are bringing their yaks back from the mountains to help plough their fields, perhaps for the very last time in the history of the village. Throughout history, yaks have been an indispensable and integral part of life in the villages across Ladakh and Zanskar. The male yaks are used for all the hard tasks like ploughing the fields, threshing barley, and to transport heavy items like wood across the mountains. While the male yaks are indispensable for their strength and hard work, the female demos are indispensable for the milk they provide and the butter and cheese that the villagers can make from the milk. A settled agrarian life in these remote valleys would never have been possible without the help of the yaks and the demos. In this video, we will see how the villagers depend on their yaks for various tasks throughout the year and how this dependency is slowly reducing with the advent of new roads and the introduction of modern machinery in these villages. Located right opposite the Pukhtar monastery, the Yugar Village was established at the same time as the 2000-year-old monastery. Apart from being one of the oldest villages in Zanskar, Yugar is also one of its last villages without any road connectivity at the beginning of 2025. A new road is being built towards Yugar and is expected to reach the village in a few months. So this will be the last time that many of the traditional practices like using yaks for ploughing the fields and threshing the barley can be seen at the village. The process of ploughing the fields is hard work for both the humans and the yaks. Many of the villagers have businesses and jobs outside Yugar, and they have to put everything aside for a few days to come work in their fields. The ploughing that takes the yaks and the humans a few days to complete can be done in a few hours by a tractor. So the villagers are eagerly waiting for the road to be connected to Yugar by the end of this year so that they can use tractors from the next year onwards. But until then, the villagers have to use yaks for ploughing their fields, which is hard work for both the humans and the animals. Most of the fields are planted with barley, which is one of the main source of sustenance for the villagers. A few of the fields are used for planting the pea crop. Currently, the villagers plant the peas only for their own consumption, but it will become a major source of income for the villagers once the road reaches Yugar. Apart from barley and peas, the villagers also plant potatoes and radish, which they can store for a long time and use all through the year, even during the winter months. Although the tractors are immensely useful, they cannot completely replace the yaks. Yaks are still needed for leveling and smoothing the surface of the fields after they are ploughed. Another important use for the yaks is to make irrigation lines for watering the fields, something that is not easy to do with tractors. So even with the advent of new roads and the introduction of tractors for ploughing, yaks will still continue to play a small role in farming the fields of villages such as Yugar. Soon after the ploughing is completed, the villagers need to keep their cattle away from their fields to prevent them from destroying the crops. The male yaks are usually sent away into the mountains to graze undisturbed for a few months until they are needed for work again. The female demos and their young calves are kept close to the village so that the villagers can collect milk from the demos and keep their babies safe. Different villages have different ways of keeping the cows during the summer months. In some villages, the cows are kept in the homes and are taken out to graze every day to the nearby hills and are brought back to the village in the evenings. In other villages, especially the ones with a lot of yaks and demos, the animals are taken to camps inside valleys far away from the village. These camps are called the Doksas. The animals would be kept in the Doksa for a few months till the barley and the pea crop is harvested in the village. Different villages have different locations for their Doksas, and in this instance, the villagers from the Kuru, Testa and Yal villages join together to take all their animals to their Doksa at a place called Sanka inside the Gyambalchu valley. The Doksa at Sanka has a large pen where the demos and their offspring are kept. They also have 3 stone huts, one for each of the 3 villages of Kuru, Testa and El. 2 people from each of these villages take turns to come and stay at the Doksa for 2 days, taking care of the animals from their village and collecting their milk. They also make butter and cheese from the milk during their stay at the Doksa. All the milk and butter and cheese that were collected during the 3 days would belong to the villagers that collected them. And at the end of the 3 days, a new batch of villagers would come to replace the ones at the Doksa, and the same process would continue all over again. A few weeks after ploughing, the villagers are ready for Dulchu, the first watering of the fields. The Ladakhi word Dul means to sprout. It indicates a time when the seed has finished germinating and the plant is now coming out of the ground. And the Ladakhi word Chu means water. So Dulchu is the act of watering the fields when the barley crops are starting to come out of the ground. After Dulchu, the fields would be watered a few more times whenever necessary.
हाँ
और लेने को और पानी देगा उसको नाम बोलता है साशु बोलता है
हाँ
वो उनका बाद में वो पानी देगा तो यहाँ नंचू बोलता है साशु नंचू ये दोलचू बोलता है ना
हाँ
बाय 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 ना हाँ स्कूल से जाए
बाय
The end of summer is the busiest time for the villagers. The temperatures are getting colder and the vegetation around the village is slowly turning from green to brown. This is the best time for the villagers to collect the grass and store them to feed their animals during the winter months. And along with cutting grass, the villagers also need to harvest the crops in their fields. The grass cutting and harvest is such a busy time that some of the villages do not have time to tend to their cattle, even in the Doksas, where people take turns to keep an eye on the animals. So the villagers of Kargyak take all their cattle, the dimos and even their calves towards the Shinkula Pass and set them free to roam and graze unsupervised until the grass cutting and harvest is completed in their village. While most of the grass cutting is still done by hand, the villagers have started using grass cutting machines that make their lives a lot easier. Even the people of the remote Shaday village are using the machines now, transporting them for over 25 kilometers on foot, hiking over broken trails and slippery bridges. Technology is definitely making lives easier in these remote villages, and the people cannot wait for more such conveniences to reach them when the road that is now being built towards Yugar extends all the way to Shaday in a few years. While the grass cutting is going on, the villagers also keep an eye on their barley crop to see if it is ready for harvest. The barley crop is harvested by pulling the entire plant out of the ground.
ये नीचे ऐसे क्यों नहीं उतर है?
हाँ।
काटने से और इसका क्या फर्क होगा?
अभी यहाँ अगर ये काट देगा, एक तो इसका ड्रेसिंग ठीक नहीं होता है।
क्या ठीक नहीं होता है?
ड्रेसिंग
हाँ,
जो
हाँ।
ये रखते समय जो है ना,
हाँ हाँ
इसका वो अच्छा नहीं होता है। एक तो यहाँ चिड़िया खा जाते हैं ना
ठीक है।
पैक करते समय।
हाँ, हाँ।
एक दूसरा जो वो फूमा चिड़ी काफी दिक्कत आता है, फूमा कम आता है,
हाँ
घास
ठीक है ठीक है।
वो कम आता है इसलिए नहीं करता है।
हाँ नहीं करता।
Once harvested, the barley crop is left out in the fields in the sun for it to dry completely. But the villagers have to make sure that the grains are safe from birds and other animals that might eat them. So they pile and pack the harvested crop in such a way that the cobs containing the grains are hidden away on the inside of the pile and only the root is visible on the outside. The piles of barley are left out in the sun to dry and the villagers carry on with their grass cutting. The harvested barley will be threshed only after the grass cutting is completed and the winter stockpile of grass is ready for the village.
ये लपसा बोलते हैं।
लप्चा है,
लपसा।
लप्चा है ना।
कितने दिन रुकेगा यहाँ? नीमा कितना दिन?
15 है ना।
15 दिन।
15
फिर
लगता
कर
है
लीजिए।
ना है।
Once the grass cutting is completed, it is time to start the threshing of the barley. Almost all the villages in Zanskar do their threshing with the help of machines. Shaday is one of the last few villages where the threshing of the barley is still done using yaks and humans. The first thing that the villagers of Shaday do before threshing is to bring all their yaks back from the mountains. The male yaks were left to graze freely in the mountains after the ploughing was over. Now the villagers set off on horses to find the yaks in the mountains and bring them back to the village. They cross 2 high altitude passes before venturing into the Neri valley where the yaks generally go to graze. The villagers round up the yaks from all corners of the valley and bring them back to Shaday to start threshing the barley. While the yaks were being collected and brought back to the village, the threshing ground or the yultak is cleaned and prepared for the threshing. The threshing of the barley is done in 2 stages. In the first stage, the dried barley crop is spread out on the yultak and the yaks are made to walk on them in circles to crush the barley crop and separate the grains from the rest of the crop. The yaks go round and round around the yultak and the villagers sing songs to encourage them to keep walking. The yaks are stopped from time to time to allow the villagers to turn over the barley crop to ensure that it will be crushed evenly on all sides. The second stage of the threshing process involves the villagers throwing the crushed barley crop up in the air in order to separate the chaff from the grains. The wind will blow the chaff a little distance away while the heavier grains would fall back to the ground in the same place, thus separating the grains from the chaff. This stage of the threshing process requires a strong breeze to separate the chaff and the grains. The wind blows in gusts here, so the villagers have to stop working whenever the wind stops blowing and start as soon as the wind begins to blow. The villagers have a tradition of whistling while working to encourage the wind to keep blowing. This method does not remove any small stones that might be mixed in with the barley crop and the grains. So the villagers use a metal sieve at the end to filter out the stones from the barley grains. The newly threshed barley grains are collected in large sacks and taken to the village. These sacks can easily weigh over 50 kilos, and the villagers use their yaks to carry the sacks of barley from the Yultak back to their homes. The crushed barley crop that remains after threshing is a valuable source of food for the animals during winters. So the villagers collect it in large gunny sacks and take them to special storage areas in their homes. Meanwhile, back at Yugar, the road has reached the village much earlier than expected. So the villagers who had initially planned to use yaks for threshing now have the option of using a threshing machine, and they took it happily. The threshing machine arrived at the village late in the evening, and the villagers worked through the night to finish the threshing. Threshing with the machine was a very quick process. Bales of the dried barley crop were fed into the machine, and it would spit out the chaff from the other side of the machine, and the threshed barley grains would fall out from the bottom of the machine. It took an average of 40 minutes to 1 hour for the machine to thresh all the barley belonging to each of the families, as compared to 3 to 4 days if the villagers were threshing the barley using yaks. The barley threshed from the machines would contain some impurities like small stones and chaff and dust. So the villagers still have to do some of the work by hand, letting the barley fall down in the wind to separate some of the chaff from the grains, and then using a sieve to separate the stones from the grains. The amount of work has drastically reduced after the new road has brought the machines to the village. And the new road will also open up many economic opportunities for the villagers in terms of tourism and revenue from cash crops such as peas. It will be interesting to see the changes that the new road will bring to Yugar in the next couple of years.
इसके अंदर डलते हैं
And this road will extend all the way towards Shaday, where the villagers are eagerly awaiting the road to end their isolation and experience all the benefits and conveniences that the road will bring them. The road will take another 2 to 3 years to reach Shaday, and until then, it will be the only village in Zanskar where you can still see yaks playing a major role in almost all aspects of village life throughout the year.
Holo, 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 ya, ya, holo, 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 do, holo, do. Pamazambe, shiruke, jilinda zambe, honor, honor. Honor la shanjigue, shalandrugue la shanjigue, shanjigue. Holo jobra tire, yolora la motirire ter. Mame mala nurbuto. Tele hor yala disike, holo jobra tirire, yolora la montirire te, tulani mindu tulnaga, jibani mindu jimaga. Holo, 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 ya, ya, holo, 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 do, holo, do.